Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we're going to cover a game I just played earlier today that got me back over 1700 blitz, and it's a win against an 1800 opponent. We love beating 1800s when we get to 1700s. It makes us feel like we are legit and we have arrived. So this is going to be a closed Sicilian, as you can see from the setup here, and it's specifically going to be a closed Sicilian for us versus the E6 form of the Sicilian. So in this setup, I'm going to recommend knight G to E2. This is one of the strongest ways to fight against this system. We're going to bring as much firepower as we can to capturing this D4 square, and we want to have a lasting advantage here as a result. So in this game, my opponent plays the move that I most commonly go against, which is going to be D5, setting up almost kind of a French defense structure here. And there's a lot of carryover, or crossover I should say, between an E6, C5 pawn structure and this D5 push here, which will start to resemble a French setup. And even some players will reverse the move order, and they'll start with E6 against your E4 with the intention of playing C5 next against certain moves from you. So what we're going to see here is going to help us a little bit in some French structures as well, and it'll be lots of fun. So we always want to go ahead and take this pawn here. See if I can get rid of the red there. We want to go ahead and take this pawn. We absolutely can't allow D4 to happen. We can play D4 ourselves right now, and then after D takes our E4, we'll have to take with our knight. At this stage in the game, I want to direct traffic as best as I can, and I want to direct outcomes. What I don't necessarily want to do is play D4 and then leave it up to my opponent whether or not they're going to capture E4 and my knight's going to end up on E4, because the more moves we can force in our openings early on, as early as move 4 here, the more we dictate the direction that the game goes. And as white, this is our right, and we should take advantage of it. Waiting to see if our opponent takes or not is going to leave us two separate trees in opening theory, and we would have to study both of those lines. So if I play D4 and just leave my E4 pawn there, and I give my opponent the option to take or not take, right? If I just play D4, my opponent can take E4 or not take E4. So in my opening prep, I have to study both of those lines unless I plan on taking here every time, and black has no other move here but to take, really. I mean, I guess he could play knight F6, but who's going to do that? And now we're getting our D4 push the way that we want. And now we get knight F6. And then what I recommend in a setup like this, since we already have our D4 square covered, we certainly don't want to take C5 because that's just going to enable our opponent to bring his bishop out to C5. This would be absolutely terrible for us because after we do that, now he's one move away, one knight move away from his bishop and his knight both attacking our F2 square. This obviously is not going to be good for us. So we're definitely not wanting to take, and we're not wanting to move that pawn more than once. So while this E2 knight is blocking the development of our light squared bishop, we need to make another plan for this light squared bishop, because the sooner we get it off of its home square, the sooner we can get castled, and this is just good opening principles. So the move G2 here, G3 here, absolutely warranted. And after takes, we want to take with the knight. We don't want to put our queen on D4 and allow our opponent to come out to C6, putting pressure on our queen, and then we have to move our queen again right away. So knight takes D4, more accurate here. Getting into our fianchettoed position. And now bishop to C5 is the move by my opponent. I want you to go ahead and pause the video here and see if you can find the best move for white. There is a clear best move for white in this position, and I'm going to break it down for you afterwards. I didn't find it in this game. Everything still works out for us. We get the win. But going forward, this is an idea that I want to use. Okay, so you've had a chance to pause the video. The absolute best move for white here is Queen E2 check. One of the reasons is that to block this check, Black has a couple of ideas. He can simply bring the queen out. He can move his light squared bishop to e6, or he can pull his bishop back to e7. According to the computer, Black pulling his bishop back to e7 is actually the best way to block a queen e2 check for us. So essentially with that, Black would have to move the same piece twice in the opening. If queen blocks, then we can always just take, and then he has to come back and take with one of these two pieces that he's already moved. And so we're getting him to move his same pieces twice. And keep in mind as well, we have double pressure on this d4 square. So if the queen comes out to e2, and he comes here with the queen, we're free to just go ahead and take this piece right off the bat. This d5 pawn is ours. So I missed this move in the game, sadly. What I decided to do was just go ahead and simplify the structure a little bit. And already I've given away my advantage. And we'll go through some of the regular moves here, castles. I don't want this knight coming down to g4, so I just play h3, trying to harass the bishop. And at this point, I've essentially given my opening advantage away. And my opponent plays h6 here. I want you to see if you can find a better move. We'll basically conclude the video with this, with you just trying to find a better move for Black here. h6 is absolutely not the best moves. It gives the initiative right back to white again. So you got to find a better move than h6. So go ahead and pause here, and then I'll let you know what the top 3 moves are according to the engine. Okay, top moves according to the engine: bishop to f5. And second best move according to the engine, but it's kind of a tie, rook to e8. Why not? And then last but not least, queen to c7. And what's really interesting in this position is my opponent plays queen to c7 right after he plays h6. He plays h6 because he's afraid of the pin on the queen, and then he moves the queen over. Much, much better would have been to just play queen to c7, and then if my bishop comes down to g5, that's simply just not a move. He can swing the knight out of the way. He can do all sorts of things. He's got lots and lots of freedom with the knight now. So sometimes the best way out of a pin is to not get yourself pinned in the first place. And sometimes the best way to do that is not always h6, which can set up a hook for white to work his way in. Sometimes it's best to just move the queen preemptively so that that knight is free to roam. So hope you guys found this video useful. My opponent goes on to blunder a bishop shortly after this, and then I grind out a victory. He played really well after he dropped the piece, but we still got over 1700 on this one. But really just wanted to show you guys this system against e6, closed Sicilian here, that I've been using to get a lot of victories. I think my winning percentage against this line is 55 to 56%, which is great. Anytime you're winning more than you're losing, your rating's going up. So hope you guys enjoyed this one as I just kind of play it out, make a few moves, and remind you here what I need to remember the next time around. Queen e2 in this situation. Last time to throw a check, and if we're really taking a peek at all this stuff, taking time in our opening to look more than a few moves deep, we'll see that this is going to work out really well for us. So we will catch you guys on the next one. If you found this useful, like, subscribe, all of the things, and we'll see you next time.